If my makeup looks worn, if my hair looks worn, that's because it's worn. It's the end of the day. I am so freaking tired, but I really wanted to get this video out and filmed for y'all. I had to pin my bangs back because they were overstimulating me. So hello, welcome. If you're new to this channel, I review all of my purchases periodically to see if they stand the test of time. So in today's video, we're gonna look back at my past purchases in the last 6 months from Sephora and let you know whether or not these were worth it for me. Now, I want you to keep in mind that no matter what, any purchase I make that is beauty related is never really a regret or a waste of money because I buy these products for review. So even if I don't like them, they will always serve their purpose. The reason why I want you to keep that in mind is because my relationship to beauty is going to be very different from your relationship to beauty. I buy these products so that you can decide whether or not they're worth it for you, and so that you can probably save your money on things that you don't actually want and or will like. So let's travel back in time to the last Sephora sale, which I believe was in the spring. One of the first things I bought was the danessa myricks water powder serum because I did get questions about how this compares to the One Size Extreme Mattifying Alkaline Primer, and I can confidently say that although they have similar marketing aspects and claims, they're very different from each other. I would recommend the One Size only if you have extremely oily skin. This stuff can be very drying. It truly sucks the oils out of your face, and I would only recommend applying it in the T-zones. If you have dryness of any kind, avoid. This is also a product that has a bit of a learning curve. So if you don't have the time or the patience, it's not for you. But if you're someone who is extremely oily and you are desperate to have something help manage your oils, or at least prevent you from being extremely oily throughout the day, this is probably the only primer to work in that way. But if that is too powerful and too harsh for you, then I would recommend the danessa myricks water powder serum. For me, this is more realistic to wear on a daily basis because it doesn't take as long to settle onto the skin. It's not as finicky and doesn't have a learning curve to it. And I can mostly wear this with any foundation because it's such a thin consistency. It literally feels like water, hence the name of the product. Like with any product, I do recommend you let it sit for a couple of minutes before applying on foundation. I will say this is not as mattifying as the oil sucker. It might not even be noticeable enough for you to feel the need to have this primer, but as someone who has oily skin, I do think it makes a slight difference and it's worth applying, especially if I'm not wearing full coverage makeup. I like to put this underneath as more of a matte base for the rest of my makeup. Do I look silly with these clips? Should I take them out? I hope they don't bother you. They definitely aren't a look, but they make me feel comfortable because bangs have been getting all over my face and I cannot stand it. So just bear with me. Now, as for the danessa myricks Yummy Skin Lift and Flex Concealer in the shade 8, my opinion has changed on this. When I first used this, I really loved it under my eyes. I found that it was pretty good coverage. It didn't move, it didn't budge, but over time, as I did wear tests, I noticed that it was making my under eyes look cakey. So because this is a drier concealer, it's a bit heavier. If you have wrinkles or if you are concerned about creasing, I wouldn't recommend this unless you apply it very strategically. I've actually been using this more as an eyeshadow base and I love it as an eyeshadow base. Now, in comparison, I also bought the Milk Makeup Feature Fluid. I exchanged it for the shade 16-0, and this is such a better match for my skin tone. Now that I have a good shade, I realized that in the review, I was completely wrong about this. I said that this was a pretty dry formula. No. And this is why I give things time before reviewing, because opinions can change and sometimes time will only tell what I end up using the product for. In the last video, I said this was really dry, but I actually think the danessa myricks is more dry. It's a thinner consistency and it's less creamy, but it sets down faster and it's a lot more matte. While this one has a slight luminosity to it, I wouldn't consider it glowy. It just has a slight radiance to it. It's also a creamier texture. It's one of those formulas where it's better if you let it sit for a little bit to give you more coverage. I don't prefer it under my eyes just because it's a little bit too emollient under the eyes. Because it's so creamy, it does crease my under eyes. But as a spot concealer, the shade 16-0 is such a good shade match, and it also gives really good coverage. So my opinions on these concealers did change, but all in all, I like them for their own reason. For every sale, I try to pick a brand that I want to try next, and danessa myricks was the brand of this sale, so I have a couple more from them, and I plan to pick out some new products from danessa myricks in the October sale. So let me know in the comments below if there's anything you're interested in me reviewing, because I'm slowly trying to get to know the brand a little bit better. These are her colorfix matte liquid pigments. I have the shade in nude 7 and nude 4. I am someone who loves a liquid eyeshadow. I use them fairly often. I love to use them as a cream base before applying on powder eyeshadow. But now that time has passed, I don't know if they're my favorite. This could change over time because I go in and out when it comes to using liquid products. I was originally using this as an eyeshadow base, but it has since been replaced with the concealer, ironically enough. While these are very versatile and you can use them in multiple different ways, it's very much a product rooted in artistry rather than for the everyday person. Although you can if you are like into that, but I know for the everyday person, this is a product that might be a little bit too much work. It's also very pigmented, so you might hate that. With that being said, I like these, but these shades in particular haven't really served me through my makeup routine. I would be open to trying other shades that I can use as mixing pigments. The last danessa product is the Yummy Skin Cream Blush. This formula is cream to powder, and I have the shade in Bellini. I love anything that's cream to powder. If you have oily, textured skin, cream to powder is going to be your best friend, and this is not an exception. My opinion on this has not changed. I really like it. I just need her to come out with more shades. Give us more muted colors. I definitely want to try Rose and Brunch from the line because this is like a little bit too orange for me. I haven't really been into orange blushes. I want something more muted. But aside from the color, the formula is phenomenal. It's completely worth the hype. Blurring blushes and products that are marketed for oily skin are my thing. So if you have the same skin type or preferences as me, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss out on a video. And if you are new to my channel and you haven't seen my previous videos, I actually have a series right now called the Makeup Refresh, where my entire goal for that series is to help you revive your love for the products you already own. So if you are trying to be more intentional with your purchases and just have fun with the stuff that you already own before buying anything new or shopping, I will link the playlist down below. Anyways, back to the reviews. I bought a lot of blushes during the sale as well because there were a lot of new blush launches, specifically blaring blush launches. So of course I had to compare to see which one is best. Another top contender that's cream to powder, very similar to danessa myricks, is the Rare Beauty Matte Bouncy Blush. I have the shade in Happy. Y'all, this formula, so blurring, so beautiful. Dare I say, I kind of like it a little bit better than a danessa myricks. With the danessa myricks, because it's slightly creamier and this one has that bouncy, moussey texture, I do find Rare Beauty more blurring. The only thing I don't like about this is the shade. It's a little bit too vibrant and saturated. Just the shade range in this line in general, I want to be expanded to more natural, softer, muted colors. You're gonna notice that's a trend in everything I say, but this formula is so good. Completely worth it. Rare Beauty knows how to formulate a blush. Let me tell you that one. Another blurring blush is the Tower 28 Get Set powder blush, I guess is what it's called. And I have this shade in Long Beach Ice Tea. So this is impressive. It is a very blurring blush. It's soft on the skin, it's matte on the skin, it's not too pigmented. I just have a love-hate relationship with the shade. Like I said earlier, I've really been into the muted blushes and this fills in that box. But if I apply too much, it kind of looks like a bruise on my cheeks because it does have more of that bronzy, I wouldn't say cool tone, but that bronzy undertone. So it looks kind of muddy if you apply too much of it. That is the downside of a muted blush. So when I say I want more of that, I want brands to formulate them properly where it doesn't look muddy or orange. I think this color works best in combination with other liquid and cream blushes because it's just a really good blurring topper blush. I would love to try maybe another color or wait to see if their shade range expands because I do really like this formula. Now, out of all of the blushes, this is number one, which thank God, because it's the most expensive blush. I wouldn't say it's like the top blurring formula for me, and even Tower 28 is probably more blurring, but this one moved up to number one just because of how much usage I've been getting out of it. First of all, we know and love the YSL packaging. It's gorgeous. If you're gonna pay however much for a blush that's luxury, it better look gorgeous, but the formula inside is just as beautiful. I have the shade in number 6, which I think is the nude shade. They don't label their colors properly. This is more of like rosy peach color. Although this isn't fully muted, it is a softer color. It's not as saturated and vibrant like the Rare Beauty or even the Danessa Myricks. Crazy enough, I have been reaching for this shade more than the House Labs Pomelo Peach. Yeah, I know, because it just goes with everything. The formula is also great. It is slightly blurring on the skin. They do have, you know, other shimmering shades, so keep that in mind. Make sure you read the description before you buy it online. But this one is completely matte, so it doesn't enhance your texture, and the color is just chef's kiss, versatile, gorgeous. If you only have one blush kind of color, it would probably be this color. I think I'm gonna take the clips out because I might get mad at myself if I wear them the whole video and I'm editing this like ridiculing myself. So to prevent self-ridicule, I'm gonna just take off the clips. Those are all the powder blushes. Surprisingly, I like them all in their own way, for their own reason. Take with that information what you will. I think you can't go wrong with either of them. I would just pick the one that has the best shade for you, and I'm very confident that you would be happy with that decision. Highly recommend if you have oily skin, textured skin. Those blushes are truly blurring, and I'm so happy that we have moved on to this phase of makeup because now I feel represented. This blush is not a blurring blush. It's the Huda Beauty Blush Filter in the shade Ube Cream. I bought this because I wanted more of that lavender soft pink blush vibe and I had yet to find it. This came pretty close and my opinion on this has stayed the same. It's still slightly too light for my skin tone, but it also smells very every time I put this on, I get happy because it smells good. And I don't usually like scents in my makeup, but this is everything. The formula is also really, really pretty. It has a soft radiance to it. I wouldn't consider it blurring at all. If you have texture, it will slightly enhance that, but nothing crazy, nothing bad. It's not a super balmy, wet formula, and it does set down. If you are a slightly lighter skin tone than me, I think you would love this color. But if you are deeper than me, it is going to come off very ashy and white based unless you mix it with something else. But thankfully, Rare Beauty came out with their own version or another version of their purple blush. It's in the shade Spirited. It is super purple, but it's not a deep super purple where it comes off kind of fuchsia. I love mixing these two together because that's what creates my perfect purple blush, which then comes off as this soft pink. This is slightly too light of a purple. This is slightly too dark of a purple. And together it makes the perfect purple blush for me. So if you are my skin tone and you're looking for a good purple blush, mix them. So far, I have liked a lot of the products and I have not felt regretful with any of them until this right here. Huda Beauty Easy Bake Setting Spray. I bought the mini. Thankfully, I have so many setting sprays, I don't really need full sizes of them. It has rice starch, niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, alcohol-free, fragrance-free. I know that when this first came out, it was getting a lot of backlash because of the spray mechanism. It was spraying like white little dots on people's faces. Personally, for me, I didn't have that issue as long as I shake the bottle like it says. I didn't get any white splashes on my face. The actual sprayer or whatever it's called, what is this called? Nozzle? Isn't the finest mist, but I also don't hate it. Simply put, this setting spray doesn't really do anything special for me at all. I don't notice a difference in mattification. I don't notice a difference in longevity. When I compare it to something like the One Size, it definitely does not do the same thing. And if it's not gonna make my makeup stay on longer, there's really no point to it because I can just mattify my skin with powder. If I were to say anything was a regret, it'd probably be this one. I'll finish it up, but I would not repurchase a full size because it just doesn't feel worth it to me. The Eadem Le Choo Lip Softening Balm in the shade Boba Bounce. My opinion still stands. Best lip balm I've ever tried, and I've tried many. Probably all of the ones that are available at Sephora, I've tried. I still love this. I adore it. It's hydrating, it's nourishing, it's moisturizing, but it's also glossy. And it has decent longevity when it comes to the glossiness. These are totally worth the hype. So I definitely have no regrets when it comes to those lip balms. We are now going to move on to the brand Kulfi. Some of these I bought myself. Actually, one of these I bought myself, and then the others were gifted to me in PR. The one that I bought for myself was the satin lipstick in the shade Misra. I love it. The color is beautiful. It's a mauve nude. I don't have to wear this with a lip liner if I don't want to, but I like it better with a lip liner. What makes it stand out though is the formula. It is a satin lipstick, but I find it to be very, very hydrating. It can also be sheared out or built up for more color. Even though it's such a basic product, it's one of my favorite lipsticks that I own. So much so, when they were having a National Lipstick Day sale, I bought more shades, and I do plan on doing a video swatching all of the shades that I have so that you can decide which ones are best for you. Now, the Lassi Lips is one of the products that was gifted to me in PR, and I like this, not as much as the lipstick. I do think this is totally worth the hype though. Out of all of the lip oil stains or the lip stains at Sephora right now, I find this to be the most hydrating. The colors are also really beautiful. The options available, I have the shade in Sweet. My main issue with this, or it's not really an issue, but something to keep in mind before you buy it, is that it's more of a stain than a glossy product. And by that I mean, when you first apply this on your lips, the oil looks gorgeous. It gives you a nice little shine, and the initial color of the gloss is actually lighter than what you're going to get on your lips, which really threw me off when I first tried it on because I was hoping for something more berry, but the initial color looks nude and kind of washes out my face. You have to wait a few minutes. It's going to oxidize and change color, and that's when you're going to get that more berry stain color. Because it's a really thin oil texture as a gloss, it's going to nourish and hydrate your lips, but that also means that that gloss is going to fade very quickly and you're going to be left behind a stain. So if your priority is to have a stain for the sake of a lip stain, this is a great product, especially if you don't want a drying lip stain. The K-beauty market is just a lot more competitive in terms of price and shade range, so I don't think you need to confine yourself to buying this because there are really good cheaper options out there. But if you want to splurge a little bit, you want to support the Kulfi brand, and you like a specific shade, then I don't think you're going to regret this. They also sent me their Badi lash mascara, and I so badly wanted to love this. Initially, I was very impressed by the applicator. It has a long applicator that reminds me a little bit of L'Oreal Telescopic, and at the top is these spikes that you can use to get on the inner corners. I would be very careful with the spikes because it's very easy to poke yourself in the eye with them, but this is I think it's called a tubing mascara, so it's not waterproof and you should be able to just kind of wash it off with water and it'll kind of leave these pieces of mascara. My issue with this product is that it's marketed for hard to curl lashes. No, not for me at least. And I want you to take that with a grain of salt because when I say I have the hardest to curl lashes, I mean it. I'm final boss level when it comes to mascara because my eyelashes are so straight. My hair in general is very straight. If there's not enough frizz or dryness in my hair or my lashes, it will not hold a curl, and this is slightly too wet. When applying this, I've also tried to scrape out the product so that it's less heavy, but it still won't hold a curl on me. It's not a Kulfi problem, it's a me problem at this point. That's all to say that if I bought this with my own money, it would be a regret because in comparison to my drugstore mascaras, they hold a curl better than this one does. The next products I bought are from the Sephora collection. I don't usually buy from Sephora collection, but I purchased these because they were on an extreme sale, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to finally see if these are actually worth the hype. They are products that I hear people raving about, well, specifically the foundation. I heard a lot of people raving about forever, truthfully, and I needed to see what it was all about because you know foundation is another category of makeup I tend to try and review. And in the last video I said that this was a mediocre foundation. I didn't quite hate it, but I didn't quite love it, and my opinion changed. I actually love this foundation. It isn't full coverage, and I think that's why I wasn't sure how I felt about it. It is more medium, maybe even light coverage if you put a thin amount. So because of that, I wouldn't recommend it if you want a fuller coverage foundation. You're gonna have to apply on a lot of concealer to get that full coverage. But as something that looks really natural and skin-like, this is beautiful. I would describe it like the texture between a lotion and a gel, but it also makes your skin look really plush and plump. That being said, I am gonna put this in the regret category only because they freaking reformulated it. If you do want me to do a comparison of the old versus new, let me know in the comments below because I might buy it during the Sephora sale to compare the two. I really hope the formula is not different, and if they did change the shade range, it looks like they might have expanded it. I saw some olive shades, so maybe it might work in my favor, but we will see. I'm also putting the concealer in the regret category because again, they freaking formulated it. But the old version, so good. I actually think I like this better than the foundation. It works best when you let it sit for a few seconds or a minute or two, and then you blend it out, and that stuff will not budge. It really is full coverage. This is currently my favorite concealer under the eyes because it just covers under the eyes. As long as I don't apply too much, it doesn't look heavy. And I have the shade in 27P, which is slightly peachier, so I don't have to mix this in with the color corrector. Plus the prices on these are pretty fair and honestly comparable to drugstore, especially during the sale when you can get 30% off. I am going to put this in the regret pile. First of all, the timing of this purchase was awful because they announced that they were closing, which I'm very sad about because this was one of the brands on my freaking radar. I do believe that this foundation stick is still available at Sephora. Why I like it was because it's really creamy, super duper blendable. Honestly, if I got a darker shade and used it as a bronzer, it would work perfectly that way. The color is in 320 and it matches me really well. I believe I might have exchanged this for the right shade because in the first video I had the wrong shade. My only issue, and it's not really an issue, it's a me thing, is that it's not enough coverage for me. So I consider this more like a skin tint stick than anything else. So if you prefer lighter coverage, you want something that is easy to just kind of throw on, I would consider the finish to be natural because it's not too matte, but it's not radiant either. If you want something more light coverage and natural, you still might be able to get this at Sephora, but I think limited shades are available. So those were all of the products that I bought during the last spring sale. I will link everything that I talk about down below, but there are a couple more things that I bought after the sale that I wanted to review for y'all. I hope to be able to have some time to do full videos on these, but just in case I don't, I wanted to include them in here. The Huda Beauty Lip Contour Stains. So my plan is to do a comparison video between this and some other lip stains. Overall, I love these. I know they have a lot of controversy because you have to store them upside down. I don't have a problem with that. I store anything that's like this kind of marker formula, or even like my lip liners and things like that. I always store them upside down so I can see the color. I have this NYX Lift and Snatch like eyebrow pen and I have to store it upside down also. That is not a problem to me at all. I totally get the critique that as you're applying it's kind of hard to distribute the product because you almost run out of product and in a way it dries out. But aside from that, I absolutely love this applicator. In comparison to the NYX and other lip stain applicators I've tried, this is the most comfortable applicator to use. Also versatile. Not only can you get a proper line around the lips, but it can also be flattened out so that you can color in your lips if you wanted to, right? You don't have to just use it like a lip liner. And the tip is soft in comparison. Oh no, it's getting late. So it's comfortable to apply on the lips. Compared to like the CoverGirl lip stain, those marker tips are so harsh and they kind of like, they feel like they scratch on my lips. I hate the texture of it, not this. So it makes me want to use it more. The only critique I have is I wish that she would have more of a brown shade range. NYX has definitely done a better shade range, and of course for cheaper than Huda Beauty. So if that's what you're looking for, something that's more brown with different undertones, NYX is where it's at. But aside from the packaging debacle, the lip stain actually works. It's very long lasting. So if you find a color you like, if you're willing to splurge for the sake of comfort and texture, I think you would like it. But you don't have to splurge because there are other options out there. The last product are the Tower 28. Actually, this isn't the last one. I have something else to talk about, but it's the Gogo Cooling Shimmer Stick. I was very excited about this because it has that cooling texture. It is so comfortable on the skin. It is mainly like water, so it's kind of like a jelly, right? I have the color in Whiskey, which is this taupey brown. It's really, really freaking pretty. What I like about the stick is that it gives you a lot, or at least decent blend time, and then it kind of doesn't budge. My issue and why I regret this purchase is because after doing a wear test, the glitter in this shade gave me so much fallout and it looked awful at the end of the day. It was faded, it was gone. I don't know what happened. I didn't even rub my eyes or anything like that. I'm someone who doesn't really have oily eyelids. Most eye products last decently on me as long as I prep well, especially when I compare it to the Danessa Myricks colorfix sticks. This right here, Tower 28, sorry, I don't know if it's the shade, I don't know, maybe the lighter shades are better, but what I got in particular was not worth the money for me. Wouldn't recommend it, but the Danessa Myricks colorfix sticks, worth every single penny. Again, I want to do a deep dive into this product, so I won't go into too many details. What I will say is that in comparison to the Tower 28, they are two different products in the sense that one is more meant for natural wear, so the colors in this shade range are more for everyday, so you might like that better. And these are more for fun makeup wear, but you could pick out a shade that's more neutral to wear for every day. Personally, I think this formula has better longevity than the Tower 28, so I would pass on this one and get this if you're willing to splurge. My issue with the Danessa Myricks colorfix sticks is that you have to buy two, which you know drives me nuts. I had this critique with the Patrick Ta duos. Please don't force me to buy two. Sell them in singles like Tower 28 because I would rather just pay more for the one that I want. You'd probably even make more money that way than have to buy two. If you can find a duo that you enjoy that feels worth the splurge, these don't give me the fallout that Tower 28 gives to me, which is shocking because the foiled side is very, very glittery. Like, look at that shine and gleam. The biggest critique that people have with the colorfix sticks is that they're hard to blend, and I 100% agree with you, but they're not meant to blend the way that a cream shadow blends, or else I believe the formula is going to give you issues in terms of fallout. As you can tell, I'm not really able to blend it too much. When you apply these on, the key is to tap. You can rub a little bit, but just tap and do it lightly, because if you apply too much pressure, it's going to look chunky, which if you want that look, feel free. But I like to make it look ethereal by just tapping, and then wherever I want more impact, I press down a little bit harder. Sometimes I like the chunky glitter look and I just go ham with it. Personally, I don't think it's difficult and it doesn't deter me from the product, especially because there are so many beautiful shades in this range, and I hope she comes out with more. It really stands out to me. I am going to be doing a deep dive on both of these products, so make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned so that you don't miss out on these details. I think overall what I've purchased so far, the majority are things that I actually like, enjoy, and would recommend, which is the whole point. Did I say joy? I meant enjoy. Hopefully this video helped you in deciding what's worth purchasing, what's not worth purchasing. If you do decide to shop the Sephora sale, I believe it starts October 31st for Rouge, 20% off, VIB 15% off, Insider 10% off, and Sephora collection is 30% off. As always, before you decide to buy any products, keep in mind your budget, your preferences, and products you already have. I do have a recap of my Sephora purchases from the past year. So if you haven't seen my yearly recaps on old purchases, I will link the playlist down below, along with the makeup refresh series. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I appreciate and love all of your support, especially those of you who watch every single video. But until then, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!